Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. What if the person you trusted was never who they say they are? Imagine discovering that someone living among you has been wearing a literal mask, hiding a shocking identity the entire time. Tonight's story dives into a jaw dropping revelation involving Will Spencer, a mysterious phone call, and a man named Dylan who might not be Dylan at all. What begins as a simple suspicion turns into a terrifying discovery when Will exposes a disguise so elaborate that it takes the Spencer and Forrester families to their core. So let's break this down together because the story starts with a feeling, a gut instinct that something just wasn't right. Will Spencer couldn't explain it at first, but the more time he spent around Dylan, the more uneasy he became. There was something about Dylan's behavior that felt off. At first, Will tried to ignore it. Everyone has strange days, right? But the feeling wouldn't go away. In fact, it only grew stronger with each passing moment. Everything really began one night when Will accidentally overheard a phone conversation that he was never meant to hear. Dylan had stepped outside to take a call, thinking he had enough privacy, but the door behind him hadn't closed completely, and through that small gap, Will could hear pieces of what Dylan was saying. The tone of his voice immediately caught Will's attention. Dylan sounded tense, almost nervous, speaking in coded phrases that didn't make much sense. Will heard fragments like the plan, keeping the disguise, and something about making sure no one suspected anything. That was the moment Will's heart started racing. A disguise, a plan. What kind of conversation was this? When Dylan came back inside, though he acted completely normal, laughing with everyone else like nothing had happened. To anyone else in the room, he looked perfectly relaxed, but Will noticed something chilling during that moment. Dylan briefly locked eyes with him, and for just a split second, the expression in his eyes changed. The warmth disappeared, replaced by something cold, calculating, almost dangerous. From that point on, Will couldn't let it go. Over the next several days, he started quietly observing Dylan, paying attention to every detail, and the more he watched, the more inconsistencies he found. Dylan seemed to forget small things he should have remembered. He reacted awkwardly to certain conversations. Sometimes he paused too long before responding to a question, as if he were trying to figure out the right answer. One moment in particular stuck with Will. Someone casually mentioned Luna Nozawa during a conversation at the sound of her name. Dylan froze. For just a fraction of a second, it was quick, so quick that most people probably didn't notice. But Will did, and the tiny reaction set off alarms in his mind. Luna Nozawa had quite a reputation in Los Angeles. She was known for being manipulative, emotionally volatile, and capable of complex schemes. Connecting her to Dylan seemed ridiculous at first. The idea sounded almost paranoid, but once that thought entered Will's mind, it refused to leave. As the tension between the two men slowly built, others began noticing it too. One afternoon at the Forrester office, Electra Forrester confronted Will directly. She had seen the way he kept watching Dylan and asked him what was going on. Why did he keep looking at Dylan like he expected him to suddenly explode? Will hesitated. Saying his suspicions out loud made him feel ridiculous. It sounded like the plot of a thriller movie. But eventually he admitted that he believed Dylan was hiding something serious. Electra tried to calm him down, suggesting he might just be overthinking things. Still, even she had to admit that Dylan's recent behavior had been strange. Then came the night when everything exploded into the open. Bill Spencer had organized a dinner at the Spencer mansion to celebrate a recent business success. It was supposed to be a relaxing evening. Family, friends, laughter, champagne, and good news all around. At first, that's exactly how it felt. Everyone was in a great mood, enjoying the moment. Dylan seemed completely comfortable too. He was charming, joking with everyone, blending in perfectly with the group. But Will couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in his stomach. Something just wasn't right. Throughout the evening, he noticed Dylan constantly checking his phone. Every time it buzzed, Dylan's fingers trembled slightly. Eventually, Dylan excused himself and walked down the hallway toward the guest bathroom. Something inside Will told him to follow. He waited a few seconds, trying not to look suspicious, and then quietly moved down the hallway after him. When Will reached the bathroom door, he heard something strange coming from inside. It sounded like tearing, following by a frustrated muttered curse. His heart started pounding again. Without thinking, Will pushed the door open. What he saw inside stopped him cold. Standing in front of the mirror wasn't the Dylan everyone knew. Instead, the man was gripping the edges of something covering his face, a thin, almost translucent layer of synthetic skin. As he pulled at it, the material stretched in an unnatural way. In that horrifying instant, Will realized what he was looking at. It was a mask, not a cheap costume mask either. This was something incredibly realistic, designed to look exactly like human skin. Dylan, Will whispered, his voice shaken. The man turned around quickly, eyes wide with shock. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then the man tried to laugh it off, claiming the mask was just a prop for some kind of prank he planned to play later. But Will wasn't buying it. Every instinct in his body screamed that something darker was happening. Take it off, Will demanded. The man shook his head nervously and stepped backward. His voice dropped to a quiet, tense tone as he said something that confirmed Will's fears. "You weren't supposed to see this." That was it. Will lunged forward and grabbed the edge of the mask. The material felt disturbingly real in his hands. The man struggled to stop him, but adrenaline had taken over. With one powerful pull, Will ripped the mask away. The room fell silent. The face underneath wasn't Dylan, it was Luna Nozawa. Will stumbled backward, barely able to stay on his feet. Standing in front of him was the woman everyone thought had disappeared, and she had been living among them the entire time, pretending to be someone else. Luna glared at him with a mix of anger and desperation as she realized her secret was finally out. Will struggled to speak. Luna responded with bitter laughter. She revealed that after everything that happened in Los Angeles, she had decided to the only way to regain control was to disappear and then return in a form no one would question. By becoming Dylan, she had gained access to the inner circle of people she blamed for her downfall. She had attended their meetings, their dinners, their private conversations. She had listened to their secrets and studied their weaknesses. When Will demanded to know why she went through all of this, Luna answered with one word: revenge. She blamed several people for ruining her life, including Steffi Forrester and John Finn Finnegan. She also expressed deep resentment toward the powerful Forrester and Spencer families, claiming they had always treated like an outsider. As Luna ranted, it became clear that her anger ran deeper than small, simple resentment. There was instability in her words, something dangerous. Eventually, Luna tried to grab the mask and escape, but Phil blocked the doorway. Their argument grew louder and louder until the noise attracted attention from the rest of the mansion. Suddenly, the door burst open. Bill Spencer, Electra, and several others rushed in and froze in shock. The sight before them was unbelievable. Will stood there holding a torn piece of the mask while Luna stood exposed. Electra whispered the name everyone was thinking. Luna? Chaos immediately erupted. Questions flew from every direction. Bill demanded answer. How had she infiltrated their lives? How long had she been pretending? Luna responded with a chilling smile that suggested she had enjoyed every moment of fooling them. But beneath that smile was something darker. Being exposed meant her plan was falling apart, and history had already shown that when Luna's plans collapsed, she became even more dangerous. Will realized something terrifying in that moment. Unmasking Luna wasn't the end of the nightmare. It was only the beginning. Because Luna had clearly been preparing for this possibility all along, and whatever she had planned next might be even worse than the deception they had just uncovered. The fallout from this revelation could be massive. Luna didn't just infiltrate a random group of people, she embedded herself in two of the most powerful families in the world. That means she had access to personal conversations, business strategies, private secrets, and emotional vulnerabilities. The psychological damage alone could ripple through the Spencer and Forrester families for a long time. Trust is completely shattered now. Every interaction they had with Dylan suddenly becomes suspicious. And the most terrifying part is that Luna clearly had a long term plan. If she was willing to maintain such an elaborate disguise for weeks or even months, it means she was playing a much bigger game behind the scenes. Honestly, this twist is absolutely wild. The idea that someone could have lived among a group of people wearing a realistic disguise and manipulating everyone from the inside is both fascinating and terrifying. What makes it even more intense is Luna's motivation. She truly believes she's been wronged, and when someone operates from the level of resentment, their actions become unpredictable. That's what makes her such a dangerous character. She's not just plotting revenge, she's emotionally invested in it. And when someone like that loses control of their plan, things can spiral very quickly. So now the big question is this: now that Luna's identity has been exposed, what will she do next? Was the disguise just the first phase of a much bigger scheme? Or has Will completely destroyed her plan by revealing the truth? And if Luna has already been gathering secrets from the Spencer and Forrester families, could she still use those secrets to strike back? I want to hear what you think. Do you believe Luna's revenge plot is just getting started? Or do you think her exposure will finally stop her? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoy deep dives into shocking storylines like this, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more intense breakdowns and twists coming your way.